What's the purpose of life if not for taking risks? It was around this time last year that Stella rolled into Darwin and immediately broke down. Now that we're making the same 1,600 kilometer journey as last year from Alice Springs to the top end, it's hard not to feel a bit concerned about this next chapter. It took us a good 4 weeks to decide whether or not we'd come up here at all. We missed out on a lot last year because of our breakdown, so we didn't get to see too much of this part of Australia. To be honest, we're feeling pretty scared for it. The heat itself is enough for me to feel worried. If you've watched some of my previous videos, you may know that we don't have any air conditioning in our old van. Stella is nearly 50 years old now, and she relies on the outdoor air to cool down her engine. Even at the end of winter, the temperatures are still 35 degrees up here, which is nice if you're laying by the water, but not so much when driving endless kilometers across the country. We also travel with our dog Zena, who weighs only 3 kilograms, so the heat can be a lot for her too. So even though we were feeling slightly terrified for what we were about to get ourselves into, we decided to take the leap. Our top-end adventures began exploring Kakadu National Park. This place literally feels like Jurassic Park. This has to be one of my favorite things about traveling Australia, is that it is such a diverse country. We dropped off Zena at the pet sitter this morning, which was very bittersweet. It is the first time we've ever done this, but we're working with Northern Territory Tourism this week and we have to go into some national parks, so we thought it was the best option. We drove up to Darwin and then into Kakadu today. Are you ready to go to the pet sitter, Zena? Let's go. This way. Come. Come on. Before coming into the national park, I took a look and I did not realize how big Kakadu is. It is a huge national park, so it felt a little bit overwhelming doing the planning, but now that we're here, it's sort of starting to make sense. Basically, we're just going to do a big loop around out to the main highway and then drive back up to Darwin. We only have a 2-wheel drive, so there are quite a few spots that we can't get to, mostly waterfalls, but next week we're going to be exploring plenty of waterfalls, so I'm not too worried. The sun's about to set and the colors are just getting super pastel and beautiful. We woke up nice and early to see sunrise at Mamukala wetlands. Now we're just doing the 3-kilometer loop and it is such a peaceful walk here. So 1/3 of Australia's bird life lives right here in Kakadu, and I feel like half of that is just on this walk alone. We've just seen so many birds, so many wallabies, and another thing that absolutely terrifies me is that 10,000 crocodiles also inhabit this area. We spoke to quite a few travelers on our way up north that had just been here, and they were telling us how hot and humid it was. And we've had the total opposite experience so far, which I'm so grateful for because I just don't do well in the humidity. Megan from the visitor center here told us yesterday that this temperature is unheard of. And it's not even that cold, it just means you kind of need a blanket to sleep at night, and it's a bit chillier in the mornings. So someone a couple days ago recommended this Thermacell mosquito repellent thing. And we had to go to the shops and buy it because we've heard that the mosquitoes out here in Kakadu are really bad. So far they've been alright, but we noticed on the walk they started coming out. I think because the temperature's been a lot cooler, there hasn't been as many. But we've just set it up. And it's basically just this piece on top of our butane gas canister. And there's actually no mosquitoes around right now.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
They all disappeared, so far so good. And it provides a 21-meter radius of protection, so that's pretty good. But you're not meant to use it in small spaces, just outside. It's probably got some really intense chemicals in it though. Maybe don't inhale it.
But I don't smell anything.
Yeah, I don't smell anything. Anyway, I'm stoked because when I get bug bites, I itch them until they bleed and then I end up with scars, so won't have any of them hopefully. Before we left Alice Springs, we put Stella in the shop to get a wheel alignment because we hit a rock and then Stella started pulling to the left. So we brought her into the shop, and I guess not everyone knows how to drive a kombi. There is a very specific way to drive these old cars, and they did something while they were test driving it that made us lose our reverse. In the end, they couldn't even do the wheel alignment either, which was a little bit frustrating. But now when we have to reverse, we've just been pushing Stella out of the car parks basically. We're about to go on a little river cruise to see some crocodiles. I'm so scared. We just drove about 10 minutes and we're gonna watch the sunset at Uber Lookout. The good thing about this area is that everything's pretty close so far. I think the next couple of days we will have to drive a little bit, but so far everything's been within about a 30-minute radius. We've just come up here and there's lots of art on the rocks that tells the stories of the Aboriginals, which is really fascinating to learn about. And I think sunset up here is going to be very beautiful. These landscapes really make me feel like I'm in Africa or something. That's happened a few times lately. I just don't feel like I'm in Australia. For sunrise, we did the yellow water cruise, which ended up being the highlight of our time in Kakadu. The morning sun shimmered in the wetlands as crocodiles peeped above the water. I couldn't help but notice how ancient these big creatures look. I guess it makes sense, considering they survived mass extinction. To see them up close was very fascinating. We also saw many species of birds and just endless beautiful scenes altogether. Colors are so soft right here. Such a nice breeze. You think that
It's been beautiful, isn't it? Smoky skies over Kakadu.
Normally the veranda and with the paper bark leaf, and usually the beeswax is what binds them.
coffee delivery. Oh my goodness, that drive was so hectic.
Oh mate, that was the most hectic drive I've ever taken Stella on. And the last corner was the worst. It was a big wallow, soft sand. And because it was soft, I couldn't slow down. I had to actually accelerate. But once we hit the wallow, everything in the cab went up in the air. And it was then dropping everywhere. And I think we got a bit of a funny noise underneath the cab now. So we have to further investigate what's going on with it. Our starter battery is totally dead. That's because our alternator stopped working on us the other day. So I've got the solar on the roof, and then I'm gonna chuck this straight onto the starter battery, but I have to disconnect it first. Which way do you think the sun's going?
I think that way. George just let the tires down a little bit for this corrugated road back, and we're just gonna see if Stella will start for us.
Fingers crossed. She'll go.
Easy.
Your heart stops for a second, eh?
Not a great place to get stuck out here.
That's one win for us.
And then it came time to pack up and hit the road back towards Darwin. Although Stella's alternator failed and we have to push her out of every car park, she keeps on keeping on, and I have to say, she always adds a bit of extra excitement to our adventures. This is the really hectic part. Hello. Oh.
Hello, little Zena.
So pumped.
She a really good girl?
Yeah, she was a really good girl.
Oh, good, I'm glad.